What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the St. Vitus basement, and today we got round 2 with Alien Weaponry. Thank you all for being here.
No worries, man.
Yeah, what up?
Yep. We were fortunate enough we got to interview Ethan back at the Ministry tour, and now we got the two brothers here. First question I want to ask you, who's the cooler brother?
I mean, that's between us, man. It's a
Yeah.
brotherly competition, you know?
Yeah. Well, I've always said there's the Cavalera brothers, there's the Gojira brothers, and then there's you guys, so...
Alien Weaponry brothers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially with the guys from Gojira, like Mario's definitely the coolest, drummer.
I don't know,
So,
man. Like,
I feel like that correlation
I
needs
don't reckon
to stay the same.
I don't reckon that there's a cooler one. I think we're both different people, man. We're different individuals, you know?
Yeah.
So I can't choose that one. But
All right, that's fair enough. But it's so great to have you here. Congratulations on all the success with 2.
Appreciate it.
You're doing this small little headlining tour now. A lot of people after the Ministry tour definitely now know who you guys are. So now that you're doing your own little tour, have you noticed maybe like a different type of audience compared to like the predominantly industrial audience on that Ministry tour?
I mean, definitely I've been feeling, more of a like fan to band connection on this tour just because these are, our own shows. But like a lot of people that came and saw us when we were touring with Ministry did actually tell me that they came to see us particularly. But like, yeah, I mean, it's always good doing your own shows and having your own crowds.
Yeah, definitely. What I'm curious about is, and I asked Ethan this last time, but you combine elements of Maori culture with heavy metal. What I'm curious is, there's been like a lot of bands like Sepultura, how they combined elements of Brazilian tribal elements, or a band like Skinflint from Africa that combines their tribal elements. Are you guys trying to maybe like inform your audience on Maori culture, or is this sort of like just the sound you wanted to use?
I mean, yeah, in a way it's kind of become that, but really when we started it, it was just a bit of an experiment we did. We decided, hey, we want to start writing in Māori and kind of just see how this first song goes, and people loved it, so we just kept doing it, and it's turned into this whole thing where I guess it's really educating people about, New Zealand history and Maori culture and, everything surrounding that, the war practices and everything that would happen back in, early colonial settlement days and like previous to that as well. So it's kind of like become what it is, not because we wanted it to, but because that's like, people find it interesting.
Well, I think we're all happy like how it's grown and stuff. Like when we started, like it's grown into something bigger than what we intended, but I think we're all pretty stoked with the results, and it's definitely given us more like vision for the future and like given us more of a clear idea of what we want to be doing.
Okay. So kind of like a similar question I have, are you trying to like actually tell a story, or can a listener maybe develop their own story from listening to your music?
I mean, yeah, a lot of our Māori stuff is telling like a specific story of something that has happened in New Zealand history, and you can actually go on Google and look up that specific thing and find out more about it. But there's also kind of like a personal element to our other songs where we write about kind of I guess our emotions surrounding a certain situation in
Honestly,
our lives.
I think that a lot of our songs have like a double meaning. Like with Urutar, it's like it's about the whole pressures of society and how everyone wants to fit in and everyone wants to kind of be part of this big group of sheep. But it's also about a Maori story about the burning of the Boyd, where there was almost a cultural misunderstanding between the Maori and the English that arrived there. And I feel like that kind of ties in with the whole social norms and, different cultures have different...
Just the societal differences, made it so that incident actually happened.
So yeah, I think everyone can, interpret our songs however they want. And, I mean, as long as you enjoy the music and you like the message, then, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I forgot which song it was, but there was one song about the massacre that happened back in I think like the early 1900s or something like that, right? The
Which we got a few songs about
yeah.
massacres, but which one is it? Our most recent one you're talking
Yes,
about?
that one.
Yeah, Ahika. So
Ahika.
that was actually in the 1950s. So
Okay.
not that long ago. It was 1953 that the Queen came to visit New Zealand, and yeah. So the previous year they actually burnt down a Maori village in Auckland. Because the Queen was going to be driving past it when she visited the next year.
They didn't want the unsightly native Maori village to be seen by the Queen, which
Yeah.
is kind of, it was unfair and it was, a bit of a bullshit move by the Auckland City Council. And not many people know about it, so, we're just trying to write about things that, maybe people haven't heard about or, just open people's eyes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, as somebody who may not know too much about Maori, is Maori culture in New Zealand? That's basically like to New Zealand as what like Aborigines is to Australia, kind of in a way.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, as what Native Americans here are, like it's Maori were the first settlers of New Zealand, and so like that's like, you know, there's a lot of Maori culture in New Zealand, but it's also, you know, throughout the years it has been very heavily suppressed because of that colonization and stuff. So there's a lot of people trying to fight to keep it alive at the moment.
Yeah. Now, as somebody like, because obviously, it influences the lyrics behind the music. Do you like need to hear music to come up before you have these stories in mind, or like do you come up with these stories in mind and then that determines the music itself?
It really depends from song to song. Like, quite often what we'll do is we'll write the music, then we'll decide, how we're going to place the lyrics, if we're going to write it in English or Māori. But sometimes I'll come into band practice with a set of lyrics and I'll, like, write them with the song section by section. But, like, it depends. We don't have, like, a set way of writing things, and I feel like that keeps our songs a bit different.
And I'd imagine with a different process that could lead to you even bringing more different sounds as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also when we're in the studio, we add things, we change things up a bit. I go crazy on my pedal board and, find cool sounds and shit. But yeah, really, every song's got a different process and a different way that we do things.
Interesting. Now, one thing I'm really curious about is when you guys are performing live versus like in your studio or practice space, do you try to execute these songs just the way people would hear it on the album, or do you try to bring something different to the live presence as opposed to when they're listening to you guys?
Honestly, I do think that we try and recreate the sound that we have on the album, pretty accurately, but I also think that playing live, is a completely different energy. It's a different vibe, You've got that whole audience interaction. So I sometimes, I'll try and, change it up just a little bit to add, maybe give it another flavor, another element.
And I mean, in the end, like that's what people are coming to hear is what's on the album. If it's so different that the song is like, only semi-recognizable, it kind of sucks for people because they can't sing along. They can't, like if they're say a drummer. Like if I go to a show of a band that I'm really into, say Lamb of God, I want to be able to play along with the fills in my head. Like it's something cool for me. It's like, yeah, I know these songs. Yeah, they're sick and I know them. Yeah.
Interesting. And the final question I want to ask you, and I kind of brought it up a little bit last time, I just got to interview Like a Storm earlier this year from New Zealand as well,
yeah.
and they kind of combine, like, I don't know if it's Maori culture, but they bring the didgeridoo when they play on stage,
yeah.
and...
Yeah, well, that's actually Australian culture. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, didgeridoos are Aboriginal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's unique, to say the least. But
Yeah.
is there, like, a metal scene in New Zealand that maybe, like, you guys... Obviously, you're influenced by your culture, but is there, like, a metal scene as well that you kind of brought this sound into? Or did you have to go outside of New Zealand to get Alien Weaponry's name out there?
New Zealand does have, like, its own small metal scene, but it's weird because in New Zealand, you can't really get big until you make it big overseas. Like... you know, as much as New Zealanders like to think that we're, you know, really forward thinking and that we accept new stuff really easily. You know, oftentimes you see bands go and make it big overseas, and then they come back to New Zealand, and it's the first time they're actually playing like sold out shows, because people are seeing them playing overseas and going, "Oh wow, they actually are a big band and they are doing well. Hey, maybe we should go and see them." Like,
Yeah. I mean, and I've heard from, like, despite, like, being a fairly small country, like, Wellington is very different from, like, Auckland, for example.
oh yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, Wellington's kind of like the New York of New Zealand. Like, it's, you know, like
Artsy,
one of the
busy,
older cities.
tall buildings
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And Auckland is...
Auckland is
Auckland
like
is
LA.
Auckland, man.
Auckland, well, like, people
Auckland's
are pretentious there. Like,
Auckland's its own thing. People are like, I feel like Auckland's one of those places where you need to be well known before people will give a shit about you when you go and play in Auckland. But
yeah, like, I mean, Auckland crowds are the crowds that'll stand there with their arms folded for the entire set and just come up to you and say, "Yeah, that was a good set."
although our last Auckland show
Our-
was one of the best shows we ever
Yeah.
played, and
so...
yeah.
It's changing. It's
But then
changing.
again, we had a lot of our mates come along for that one. But
Yeah, you got it sometimes, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So before we go, I'd like to thank you guys so much for your time. It's going to be a great show tonight. You know, this is going to be uploaded by midnight tonight. So
Oh,
is there
sweet.
just anything else that you would like to promote for Alien Weaponry? Could we maybe be expecting some new music soon?
Yeah, man, we got another single in the pipelines, kind of ready to go.
Yeah, we're actually going to be playing it tonight, so.
Awesome.
So, everyone, keep your eyes and ears peeled. We got some more touring in the pipeline as well. So yeah, just everyone keep your eye out. Follow us on social media. That's where we'll be like posting updates about what we're doing and stuff. And if you haven't already, buy some tickets to our shows and download the album and give us a listen.
Yeah. Or buy it at the merch booth.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, hard out. That's
And
how
we'll
we
come
eat.
sign it for
so
ya.
Yeah. That album artwork is so cool. You're not going to be able to get the feel of it on your phone.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it, man.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much. Everybody,
No
we are
worries.
here with the brothers of Alien Weaponry 2. Pick it up if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.